We have made it, kind of. Tonight, we actually get NFL football. Now, it's not regular season. It's barely even preseason for that matter because it is the Hall of Fame game, which is generally speaking a throwaway preseason game where we don't really see many starters, and if we do, they're there for about a series or so. Usually there's very little intrigue. And, really, tonight's game isn't a lot different. There's not a ton of starters that are going to play. The ones that do play are more the fringe starters. No superstars will be playing, whether we're talking about the Jets or the Browns facing off tonight. However, it is one of the more interesting Hall of Fame games that I can remember because there's a second overall draft pick at the quarterback position that's likely to play significant time. That, of course, being the guy taken right after Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, who was the on-again, off-again starter for the Jets last season. Complete implosion. Regressed, showed no progression whatsoever, and the last time we saw Zach Wilson in action, he was getting demolished by a pretty mediocre Jacksonville Jaguars defense on Thursday Night Football. That was a game that a lot of pundits were saying, hey, one of these two teams is likely going to the playoffs. Will it be the Jets or the Jaguars? They both need to win the game. A lot of people were picking the Jets because they have that really strong defense, and they're like, look, Zach Wilson just has to make a few plays, and they win the game. And if you remember, Jaguars fans, you probably will. The Jaguars got the ball first and immediately fumbled it away. The Jets got the football in scoring range, and my mind was like, oh boy, here we go. Jaguars held them to a field goal, 3-0. That was the last time the Jets scored in that football game, their first drive. So Zach Wilson had himself a terrible first half, was seen throwing up lame duck passes. Not a good night. Zach Wilson was benched that game, and we didn't see him again the rest of the season. So rarely do we have a preseason game with so much for one player riding on a preseason performance in the first preseason game. Rarely do we see this, but Zach Wilson has a huge amount staked on tonight's game. And to be fair, he'll have multiple preseason games to work with. But let me frame this up for you. He's going to be playing with a lot of backups because he is one. He's a backup quarterback. He won't have many weapons. His starting weapons for the team won't be there. It's not the offense that we'll see on week 1 for the Jets. So if the Jets offense is terrible, no big surprise, these aren't the good players. However, Zach Wilson needs to function like a pro quarterback this preseason, and right off the bat especially, because if you think about this, if he turns in a dud performance, all this goodwill that has been building around Zach Wilson being mentored by Aaron Rodgers, that's going to evaporate quickly. Especially if he puts together a few duds this preseason. But first game, Hall of Fame game, a lot of backups on offense, a lot of backups on defense. If Zach Wilson doesn't function like a pro quarterback, and what do I mean by that? Does he make good reads? Does he get rid of the ball when the play is dead? Does he throw it away? Or does he do the thing where he falls back and back and back and then throws up a pass for just anyone to catch? Has his decision-making improved since we last saw him throwing just terrible passes against the Jacksonville Jaguars? So for once, I'm actually not just excited for the Hall of Fame game because it's the Hall of Fame game. The streak with no NFL football is over. That's usually why I'm excited. But this time I'm excited because I actually care about watching part of the game, the part where Zach Wilson's on the field. It's intriguing because the Jets would like you, and at least Jets fans would really like this to happen, but the Jets would like you to believe that what's going to happen over the next few years, Aaron Rodgers is going to lead the team, hopefully to a Super Bowl if you're a Jets fan. And in the meantime, he's mentoring Zach Wilson to the point where Zach Wilson becomes the guy that he was supposed to be all along and takes the reins over from Aaron Rodgers and becomes the Jets' capable starting quarterback. This is the first time we get a peek of Zach Wilson under the mentorship of Aaron Rodgers. And if I'm a Jets fan and things don't go well over the course of the next few weeks in the preseason, the Jets have such a strong roster, the perception is they're a Super Bowl contending roster if they have a quarterback. Do you roll with Zach Wilson as your second quarterback if he plays horribly in the preseason? That's the intrigue to me. Because if he plays terribly, is now the time to cut him and try to find yourself a reasonably capable backup quarterback? Because if Aaron Rodgers, he's old. As far as quarterbacks go in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers is an elder statesman. If he's knocked out for a few weeks, could you survive with Zach Wilson if he's playing poorly in the preseason? Or would it be better to get somebody else that might be able to scrape out a couple of wins here and there? And the Jets' schedule is no joke. So the backup quarterback role is actually quite important, especially because the perception is the Jets' O-line might not be the best. Aaron Rodgers might actually be taking some pretty good hits over the course of the season. There may be a week or two where he can't go, or the Jets don't want him to go because they want to save him for later in the season in the postseason. So tonight's game, Hall of Fame game, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I am super excited because football is back, and this time we actually have a storyline. The only way to have made this game better, in my mind, as far as Hall of Fame game goes, if it was the Jets versus the 49ers, it would have been perfect because we would have had quarterback storylines on both sides of the ball. But you know what? I'll take what I can get. And of course, I want to hear from all of you out there. Are you tuning in to the Hall of Fame game? And if so, what's the storyline you're most watching? Let us know in those comments. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, and YouTube's going to send you a few more videos from the channel for you to watch. And I will see all of you in the next one.